Welcome to Mobile Armor Radio, the podcast for all things Mecha. Jumpship incoming.
Hello everyone and welcome to another amazing episode of Mobile Armor Radio. I am one of your hosts, Brian.
I am one of your other hosts, Chopper.
And I am the last host, Rob.
Apart from when we do it where you're the main host for the day, Rob, we should change up our alphabetical order sometime.
I'm always last. It's all right.
Rob always wants to be last.
I accept it. It's my lot in life.
It's like I always wind up first or in the middle. I've actually never wound up last.
Oh, you want to be at the back of the bus with me?
I don't know.
That's where the cool kids sit.
Yeah.
Should we say Merry Christmas to everybody?
Yes.
That's right.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Jeez.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
The snow is falling.
It is falling. I got destroyed.
Yeah.
Poor Buffalo, Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm very close to Buffalo, and
6 or 7 feet.
It wasn't that bad because they're on the other side of the lake, but it was pretty bad
right.
too.
Wow. Well, we are here on episode 54 of Mobile Armor Radio, and I forget where we are in the season. The season
no season
ranking.
My plan has finally come to fruition that you can't remember which season you're on.
No, we can. What are we? Episode 54?
Yeah.
No.
4 is 48.
No.
2 plus 4 is 6. So season 4, episode 6.
Halfway through season 4, it seems.
All right. Well, I think that's enough banter for now. So let's head on over to the
enough of your banter.
Enough of the banter.
I am Brian. No banter, Novak.
Exactly. Let's move on.
Dropship landing.
And for whatever reason, I'm blanking on the section titles.
We're on the dropship.
On the dropship. I was going to say Jumpship. I'm like, that's not right.
That's the first part.
Yeah. Welcome to the Dropship. This is the part of the show where we talk about our kind of mech projects that we've been working on in the hobby space. And I'm going to throw it over to Rob, since you helped me remember the title of the section. What have you been working on?
Absolutely nothing, actually. I haven't done anything. I haven't used my 3D printer in a long time. I painted some dice. That's about it. I haven't done nothing. It's been I don't know. I've been lacking in my doings.
It's also been a kind of busy week or month with the holidays kind of starting to roll around and
yeah.
Well, yeah. But how does that explain the other few months? But it's it's pretty sad. I do have tons of mechs printed that I need to prime. The weather actually deterred me a lot of that, that's for sure. And I broke up my airbrush so I can prime inside, and I just haven't got it set up. I did buy a bunch of the speed paints from Army Painter, so I've got that going for me. But I haven't used them yet. So I haven't even used them on my... I was going to say I used them on the dice, but I didn't even use them on the dice. So there you go. I'm tapping out this month.
Gotcha. How about you, Pat?
I didn't do too much, but I've done some things. Worked a little bit more on my Neo Zhang.
Picking away at that project.
Yeah,
that was good.
I'm going to fall short this year, like I had promised at the end of the year, but I was on a good pace.
You still got time.
And then shit fell off.
You can do it. You think it's impossible to get done by the end of the month?
I do. I mean, we got a couple of projects going around the house too. Like we just been helping Sarah trying to get the office finished, and things like that. And the overtime has been really good at work again.
Yeah, I suppose so.
But it's have to say I didn't work a little bit in the Zhang, and I did work a little bit more in the Scorpion mech, adding more and more paint to it. It's like I work with the Zhang, wait for things to dry, work in the Scorpion, wait for that to dry, go back to the Zhang. So I haven't worked anymore. Trying to think. Did I do any 3D printing for any mechs? No.
we're just terrible people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we can't be on all the time.
No.
But I worked a little bit. I mean, I did some touching. Last month was rough because I had a lot of things going on too. So
yeah, with the move or not move, but like
with the trip,
the
and
remodel and everything, and the trip. Yeah.
So
you went on 2 trips, didn't you?
Yeah.
Busy.
Yeah. Well, what are you
going to do?
Well, as far as my hobby goes, it's more mech tangentially related, in that those that are familiar with the show The Legend of Korra might know that there is a giant mech. There are a number of giant mechs in that show, but there is also what could be classified as a giant kaiju. And I bring this all up because in Mantic's Kings of War, which is a big fantasy battle one, there's a faction called the Northern Alliance, who I've been painting up as a water tribe themed. And one of the models you can have in there is a literal giant. And I thought it would be really fun is that if I had Korra, when she's in her giant avatar state, to be my giant character for that game. And so many months ago, I had my buddy Rick actually printed it off for me, and I found a model online that was really a really stellar one, and it was literally the right height, because Pat, you might know this offhand. How tall is the Mantic giant? It's like a good almost, would you say almost just shy of a foot tall?
Yeah, it's probably about 11 inches.
Yeah, it's a tall guy. And the 3D print that I found of Korra kind of in this avatar state was like the right height, which was pretty cool. And so it had been a project that had just been kind of sitting there for the longest time. Well, I found that when my wife is watching football, and I'm just kind of a casual fan of that.
Wait, this is like the reversal of every story ever.
So quick tangent is that we have a fantasy league with the family, and my method of picking players is if you have an interesting sounding last name. That's how you wind up on my team. Anyway, I found that while watching football, we're just kind of next to the hobby room, and so I could work on painting minis and stuff while the game is on. And so I've actually been able to really make a lot of progress through that army. I started it at the beginning of this year, and it just kind of it was painted it's a massive battle kind of game. It's a very rank and flank, and so you have units of 20 to 30 models on a tray, and so that's a lot. If anyone who's listening to the show knows anything about me, is I paint very slowly, and when it's en masse like that, it drives me crazy. But I found that not only is that a great time for me to work on painting, if I can break it into batches of 6 models or something like that, that's my magic number right now. Is I can paint 6 models in just a couple of hours, get them all ready and set to go, and I do that 2-3 weeks in a row, and suddenly I have a decent force that I can field in that. But yeah, so I did go and I painted up my Korra statue / giant, and I think it turned out really nice. It was one of those where I kind of got to that point of I need to stop messing with it, because I'll start making it worse.
Yeah, I always get to that point, and I always make the mistake and keep going.
Yeah, and I was kind of between 2 themes for the longest time of doing in the show when she goes into this giant avatar state. she's literally made of 2 tones of color, which is like a teal and a white light teal. And I'm like, there was so much. There's a lot of detail on this figure, so I was like, I went with one that was a bit more nuanced, that had different shades of teal and blue throughout, like different elements of her outfit and everything, which I think gave it a lot better definition.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be a little boring to have a giant miniature that you just paint with a single color and then just like airbrush some light effects on. Yeah, and then with that, I cobbled together a bunch of 3D models of like ice shards and stuff to make a base for it, because otherwise, like, I had the base that the statue came with was ginormous. Like it actually had like all the elements and stuff swirling about it. I'm like, well, that's not going to work for the game because I need to fit it on a 75 millimeter or a 70 millimeter. And so I found a bunch of, 3D files for like ice glaciers and shards and stuff. I think they were from like a Marvel Iceman diorama or something like that. So yeah, I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. And it's kind of a nice little centerpiece for that force as I'm building it out. But so kind of just tangentially related, but mostly on the hobby side. Like I'm actually painting things, and especially at a scale that I've not done before. So that was a lot of fun. Cool.
But yeah, so I think with that, we can move on over to the ComStar and talk about all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah, actually stuff to talk about.
Message from ComStar.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Rick.
From Dead on the Podcast.
And you're listening to
Mobile Armor Radio.
Welcome to ComStar. This is the section of the show where we talk about all sorts of other stuff, such as games, TV shows, anime, comic books, everything else under the sun, mech related that we've been doing. So, Pat, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Oh yeah, this is my falling short. Is the TV and the movies and the stuff. I have not been watching a crap ton of TV. I think my TV watching has been reserved for just catching up on like
your soaps.
Yeah, or Andor, and what's the other show that I was watching?
Are there any mechs in Andor?
There's ATSTs.
Okay,
it counts. We know that counts.
It counts. I've heard good things about the show. I haven't had a chance to watch it.
I wanted to wait till it was over to start watching, so I'm waiting.
Yeah, well, today's the last episode.
Yeah, so I'm going to start watching.
It's actually a really good story.
Yeah, I've heard it's one of the best Star Wars to date, so I can't wait.
So I've been watching that, and then I like the TV show The Rookie, so I've been keeping up with that. But there's no mechs in that.
That sounds like something that needs to change.
It does, and I just need to finish the Black.
You'll get there eventually.
Pacific Rim Black, and just my wife is on a ghost story spree TV show, so she's been hogging the TV.
My wife likes those
at
too.
Night.
She's watching like from the beginning, because even when I was there, she was watching that.
Yeah. So she is. So then I'm relegated to just playing video games in the room. So, but none of the video games are playing are mech related either. So I have not too much, and that's all I will say.
Aww.
How about you, Rob?
I got a little bit more. Little bit news though. Battletech announced that at AdeptiCon 2023, their official launch of the Battletech Mercenaries Kickstarter campaign will be happening. So I know Pat and I will be there. What about you, Brian? You're going to be at AdeptiCon?
He will be.
I will be at AdeptiCon.
Oh no, Brian doesn't have a
The
choice.
Pharaoh has spoken. You will be.
Yeah.
Rick already abandoned me, so Brian does not get to abandon.
Oh,
Yep.
Rick's not going? Jeez.
No, Rick will have to earn his place back into my favor.
So maybe between all the time you guys are busy, that maybe we'll get a chance to check out the Battletech stuff. I'm sure they'll have all the stuff on preview, all the new stuff coming out for that Kickstarter. So can't wait. It's going to be hard because you got to save money for the Kickstarter, but go to AdeptiCon. But I think we can figure it out. So that'll be fun. Also Battletech related, the Humble Bundle this month, which is going to end, I think, first week of December. So you still got time if you're listening.
Yeah, I did this.
Yes. It's Introduction to Battletech from Catalyst Game Labs. It's pretty much all the new stuff, for the newest era, in PDFs. And the highest level, you can actually get the beginner box, but it was so popular, they sold out of the beginner box, so they're not going to be available again. You get a code anyway, so you could use it anytime once they come back in stock. But
yeah,
but
I got my shipping notice.
Oh, you already got you ordered the beginner box also?
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, it was a great deal.
Next.
It was like $30 or something like that or $40, I think, with the beginner's box.
No, it was $30 with the beginner box.
Yeah, and it was like $20 without it. So I got without it. But then I went to put it all with all my rest of my PDFs that I've purchased or gotten through Kickstarters, and I realized that 99% of these I already own, so I paid them twice. So there you go. That was my tithes to Battletech.
Well, yeah, that's the thing too, is I couldn't remember which ones I had, so I was like, just screw it.
Yeah. I thought, well, I must, I have some of these, but I can't have them all. I literally had them all. There's some newer versions of the ones I had, so it was probably some errata was fixed and stuff, which is all right. So at least it wasn't a total waste, but yeah, most of it I already had. It's what you're going to do. Another thing, just today, actually, I was over on the Family of Gamers 777 Discord. You can always find that over there. It's a lot of us hang out. And Beetle, our old buddy Beetle, found a 6 to 15 millimeter fully 3D printed combined arms game with mechs all over it. It's on my Mini Factory, and I think it's going to be some kind of campaign happening with it. It's called Full Spectrum Dominance, but it's interesting. It's smaller scale, so I'm curious to see how those kind of things print up. Smaller scale stuff really is going to be interesting, because it's got guys and buildings and mechs and vehicles. So obviously the mechs and the vehicles will be fine at that scale, but guys on a base, I'm curious to see if my printer can even do that. So I'll be trying that out. But if anybody's interested, the links will be in the show notes anyways. I don't know how the game plays, and I don't know how they print yet, but I will, by next time, I will discuss it, I'm sure, because I'll print some up. Personally, though, I watched Megazone 23, the parts 1 and 2. There's a part 3 I haven't watched yet, but I guess it has nothing to do with the first two parts, so I'll watch it on my own time. But Megazone was what the basis of the Robotech movie was. They heavily re-edited it, because I can't see how... I've never watched a Robotech movie, but I can't see how this would be Robotech.
That's usually how it starts.
Yeah, this is other than it's got a motorcycle that transforms into a robot, that kind of like a cyclone, but man, it's pretty out there, and it's about biker gangs, and I won't spoil anything because some of the shocks that came, I was like, oh wow, this is not what I thought it was. So it's kind of fun. Pretty much a young guy steals a high-tech motorcycle, and hilarity ensues as always. And It is super violent and sexual. I was like, oh my god. It was 1985 this came out. I was like, dear god, those Japanese, they know how to live. But it's yep.
I was just gonna say, I think I remember watching an AMV to this, Such a Journey's was it Worlds Apart or whatever? It was really good. But yeah, intense.
Yeah, some crazy stuff happens, and it's all available for free on Tubi. So if anybody has Tubi, it's free with ads, which is fine. The ads interrupt every once in a while, but it's only, I think each movie was an hour and a half, so it goes pretty quick. But yeah, it's nice to always find streaming services that have some anime. There's a lot of anime on Tubi, actually, so I think I discovered a lot of stuff on there I'll be checking out. So I'm sure it won't be the last you'll hear of this. So
Nice.
Also, I'm still reading the Battletech Dark Age novels, and boy, not great. And the thing is, I don't think it's different authors. I think it's all the same authors, and even like WizKids is owned by the guy who invented or started FASA and stuff. I don't know. It was just their whole premise, I guess. They just was terrible, and it is not good. So I don't suggest reading any Dark Age novels. I'm sure that's not the first time anybody said that because, man, I didn't think they'd be this bad, but they're not good. So I'll have to get through those before I can get to the New Age, so I can get caught up on the Ilkalian era. So that's what I'm hoping to finally get through it all. But that's where I'm sitting at the full Battletech reading order. I'm into the Dark Age, and it literally is a Dark Age, as we discussed before. So that's about it for me.
Nice. Well, trying to think of so some of the things that I've been doing lately is I did. Turns out I have a new neighbor that is also a major gamer.
We know you live in an enclave. We've already talked about this. Your enclave of everybody plays some kind of tabletop game.
Yeah. Well, in this case, the guy finished moving in. His name's Chris, and he actually is really into BattleTech as well, and nice. A whole mess of other games. But he finished his move in and had kind of put the word out as hey, is anybody available to come and game? And I just happened to have a free weekend, so this last Saturday I went to visit him and checked out his place. He decided he was going to host, and he has quite the setup. Enough space to have 2 4x6 boards, and he's got his walls lined with shelves for terrain, for minis, and divided into sections of here's Mantic, here's Battletech, here's Warhammer throughout the ages, and whatnot. And so really, really nice guy. Had a great time playing some Dead Zone with him. And I brought my GCPS, my Gundam list, so as always. So that was a lot of fun. And we got 2 games in. We both won a piece. So that's always a good start, I think.
Had he played Dead Zone before, or was that his introduction?
He had played some of Dead Zone before, but it sounds like it was just kind of a small group of them. And but yeah, he kind of moved into the area and said, "Hey, I'm looking for Dead Zone, Kings of War." Kings of War, I think, is his kind of go-to Mantic game. But then he's also interested in Firefight. So and we're literally there's 3 of us that are on the same street essentially, all within 3 miles of each other. So nice. We're gonna get some more gaming in for sure. Yep. And with that, I did. I hung out with my buddy Scott a couple of weeks before, and talked about actually getting in. Played some Dead Zone, obviously, but then we did talk about getting some, learning how to play Redline. Now that I have the core deck. Oh
yeah, did you break that open yet?
I've taken a quick peek at it. It'd been that thing where just never found the time where I'm okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to read these rules, I'm going to figure out what all these things are. It's one of those, do I open this pack of cards and shuffle them right away, or is that important that they stay the same? So there's
definitely some cards you have to take out before you shuffle them.
Yeah. So just kind of reading through those rules and getting the feel of the game and going from there. So I got a couple of people, it sounds like, that'd be open to trying out that game. So that's a lot of fun. Trying to think of other things. I was meaning to watch that the Gundam Witch of Mercury show, because I've been hearing nothing but good.
I can't get that in my country, unfortunately.
That's the one on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it's on
Crunchy.
YouTube. Oh, it's on YouTube in the States too. On the one of the official channels, anyways, has it. So I think it's a few weeks later or something on YouTube than it is on the other one.
So I think what they did is, I think Crunchyroll has the main stream of it, and I think they aired this prologue episode, and then I think they aired episode 1 on YouTube, but that was it.
Oh, they haven't continued?
No, I was kind of waiting for it to show up on YouTube, and then I was like, okay, well, I'll just go over and watch it on Crunchyroll. Turns out they do have it locked behind the price wall or the paywall, and I'm still on a free account. So when I got a good amount of free time, I might just flip the switch on the 14-day trial.
Yeah. Just take
binge watch the show.
Watch as much as you can that time. That's what I did with the other anime streaming service. I watched everything I wanted to watch, and then I cut it off.
But yeah, so I'm kind of waiting for the rest of that show to air, and then I'll see about catching up on that, because I'm definitely intrigued by it. The prologue episode was really solid, and I'm like I said, I've been hearing nothing but good. So definitely excited to check that one out. Trying to think of, I did start playing Cyberpunk 2077 again.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just kind of, I think I'd had the hankering since watching the anime Edge Runners, and it's like, just found myself in between playing other games. I know I've still got Xenogears on the back burner. I've got Legends of Dragoon I started a while back. And then I got some other games that I've been playing. But that's one that's kind of fun to revisit and go back through. And now that there's been even more updates to it. And I now am the lucky owner of a PlayStation 5. So I got the free upgrade included with the digital purchase of it. So I'm playing it on the PS5 this time, and it looks much better.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It did on the PlayStation 4. Functions a lot better too. So I'm happy to keep playing that series. But yeah, so trying to think, that covers a lot of it. I'm also reading kind of the last book I'm probably going to read for a while in the Halo series is I picked up, or I've been reading Contact Harvest, which is a kind of prequel story for Master Sergeant Johnson, Master Chief's good buddy, that follows him through most of his stories, and kind of the first contact with the Covenant, which happened on a planet called Harvest. And so I've been enjoying it. A big part of it is the AI entities that are being used, because basically it's a big farming planet, and so there's like a whole bunch of giant combines practically harvesting and running around, and so I'm interesting to see how that's all going to shake out. But yeah, and then I need to pivot and read some other stuff. I've been reading a lot of Halo, yeah. So I think with that, I think we'll move on to the MechBay Hanger and talk about our topic of the month.
Now entering the MechBay Hanger.
Welcome back to the MechBay Hanger. As mentioned before, this is the part of the show where we talk about kind of a topic for the month, and I got to pick it this time. And so with the upcoming release of the remake of Front Mission 1 hitting the Nintendo Switch here, I think it's just in a couple of days from when we air here, it kind of sparked that thought again. I think we even talked about it once in the past of, remakes and reimaginings of entities and games and whatnot. And thought it'd be a really fun topic to bring up and just kind of go through, remakes of games that are coming out or even, retellings of stories or things like that, any kind of reboots to a franchise, and, ones that are coming out. And then also if we wanted to just speak to a couple that we would be interested in seeing as well, kind of our what would be our picks to get kind of a relook or revamp, another glance. And so, like I kind of said, Front Mission 1 was kind of the one that kind of brought it to my mind. I've actually never played Front Mission 1. I've talked on the show a number of times about playing Front Mission 3, which even to this day, like I kind of look back at it and it's like, I'm really impressed with what they were able to do, where they had these two branching storylines that branched pretty early on.
Yeah, it's like
and
two
had
complete
very
separate games. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And had very different. It's a lot of the same characters, but their experiences are completely different from one another. And like it's not even like you join the light side or you join the dark side. It's like you join like the UN trying to solve this mystery thing, or you join these freedom fighters over here, for working for China. And it's like it's a really fascinating story. But the gameplay has always been one that's always really appealed to me, where you have highly customizable mechs with just a small set of rules that you're kind of working with. The big thing being like the weight of the mech, and what you can carry, what kind of energy you can generate, and that lets you determines what kind of weapons you can have, and so on and so forth, and different weapons unlock different like power-ups and combos over gameplay, and then it's a turn-based grid kind of tactical fight where you go and then the computer goes, and then all your guys are dead. So there's some pretty brutal missions in there, but yeah. So I'm intrigued to see what Front Mission 1 is like. I don't know if we really got a release of it stateside. To my knowledge, it might have been like a Super Nintendo game, actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, so I'm intrigued by Front Mission 1. I think it might have been released on the Super Nintendo, if I remember correctly. So it's been quite a while. Even Front Mission 3 was on the PlayStation 1. And only kind of exists if you still had it on the PlayStation Network like I did. And so like and from the footage that I've seen so far, the trailer that they showed, it sounds like they actually do have kind of a classic mode and a more kind of retooled mode for more contemporary gaming. I think that a lot of that goes to balancing, because some of those old games could be pretty punishing. Yeah. With no like recourse. It would just be like, you're dead, deal with it. And it's like, I didn't learn anything. Like, how do I get better? It's like it's the luck of the draw, and you lucked out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the first one I thought of touching on as far as the reboots going. I'm really excited to see how that game comes out and how well it's received. And so, yeah, and I think I'll throw it over to Rob. What would be kind of one that you've seen out there now?
I don't think I've seen any remakes coming out, but I definitely have a long list of ones I want.
Well, even maybe even just like roll back a couple of years, like Battletech.
Oh yeah, the Battletech game
kind of got a huge revamp not too long ago.
Yeah, the Battletech tactics game it was never around, but then even MechWarrior 5 came out too, which it's not really a remake, but it's definitely a continuation of that series. Those definitely came out for video game wise. I'm trying to think of anything else.
I actually meant for the tabletop one, actually.
Oh, tabletop too, but it was never a remake. It's the exact same game. It's always been. That's the thing about Battletech.
Yeah.
That's our thing about remake.
Much.
No, it's some errata, but that's about it. But yeah, I'm trying to think for actual remakes for games. Not so much. Like, I'm trying to think. Obviously, we're hoping pretty soon that Robotech will get a remake with a movie coming out, but we'll see if that ever happens, because that's not so much happening. Yeah, Pacific Rim got the black, which was nice, but I can't see any more of that happening anytime soon. So it was sort of a remake. It was a retelling of a different part of the world, I guess. But it's always hard. Remakes is starting from scratch. Even Gundam never really starts from scratch. They've never really told the original story. I guess Origin does a bit. Origin is the closest to a remake, I would think, that for Gundam World, because it kind of retells it.
Yeah, Gundam Seed, I think, would also kind of fit the bill, as they did their own version of it, but it was a lot of the same tropes that you saw from the original Gundam, and I think that was kind of what their goal was at the time, was, we had Wayne and we had G, and original Gundam had a whole bunch of shows, and so like this was, let's go back kind of to that original core feel of child soldiers getting caught up in a conflict on a giant spaceship.
Yeah, for sure. But for actual ones I'd like to see, though, definitely a game that's, for games-wise, like tabletop games, is Dust. Dust kind of went away. It's a weird World War II.
You were a big wood Dust.
Yeah, me and my buddy Jack got into Dust pretty heavy. And it was, the mechs are amazing, and it's the aesthetic of World War II, but with mechs is fun.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, I think the minis themselves became too expensive to make. I think that was a major issue. And then they had tried to do things like add Cthulhu to it and stuff like that. I think that really was the final nail. And it just went away. But I'd love to see somebody pick up that IP. Warlord Games, I think, did a version, not the same, but it's a weird World War II with mechs.
Is it that Conflict 44?
Yeah, 47, I think. Conflict 47.
47?
Yeah. So I don't. Once again, I think it was based on bolt action, so I don't think it was as much the same idea. But really, Dust is very much like Dead Zone, like before Dead Zone. Very similar. Like, other than the line of sight rules are a little fiddly because it's all about the cubes and there's dots in the cubes. You have to like draw a line of sight to that and things like that. But otherwise, it was a fun game. I'd love to see that as a remake. But yeah, that's definitely one of them. Pat, do you have any remakes you know of or you want to see?
I don't have any remakes that I know of, but since we're talking about things that we would like to see done, I would like, since we talked about Battletech, I would like them to redo the cartoon and do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. That is
just do it right.
Yeah,
just do it right. If anything, just to save face.
Yeah. That was too ahead of its time, that's for sure. They tried to add all this CGI stuff way before, like I think Beast Wars was the same company, but like a year later. And it's like, oh, okay, Beast Wars was kind of the first successful CGI cartoon, where, Battletech didn't work well.
Was it the same company that did Reboot, ironically?
I think so, yeah, I think it was originally those guys, and then they went on to do these other shows. But, man, it really was jarring when you're watching that cartoon, and it goes from like pretty good cartoon, at the time, and then it go into the battle scenes with terrible CGI, and you'd be like, oh, this takes me out of the game, that's for sure. Oh, that show, that's for sure.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see that, like, something like a Netflix series or what have you. Of course, the trick of that is all these companies are cutting their animation staff way down. So,
but the rumor a while ago was that they were looking for HBO. I think was looking for a replacement for Game of Thrones, but a sci-fi. And it's like, well, here it is. BattleTech would be perfect for that kind of world.
Well, yeah,
there's a lot of intrigue
especially if you're working with the Inner Sphere.
Yeah, and there's a lot of political intrigue plus fighting, and it would be real fun. It would be very expensive. Even now with CGI is cheaper, but it's super.
Yeah, but you can get away. You can definitely get away without involving the mechs.
Yeah, or just have a lot less. Like you have like one big mech battle a season or something instead of having it every show, or it's mostly about the political intrigue or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Game of Thrones and like major conflicts only happen like, I wouldn't even say every other episode, probably like every.
There was only 3 real big battles.
Yeah, there was only a handful of big battles. There was small fights in between. But, same kind of concept where you really could.
And House of Dragons maybe had one big battle. I don't even think they have more than that. Like it was.
Yeah.
They definitely cut the budget on that one too. But it doesn't mean it was bad. Like it's all about the drama, I think. And then Battletech would be perfect for that kind of thing, I think. Yeah. But who knows? We'll see what happens. This Robotech movie has to come out so that it proves that it's successful, and then all these other things can happen. But hopefully it won't end up being like Pacific Rim where it was before its time,
Yeah, for sure.
That was the problem with that one.
But another one that's been on my list, and I know I've talked a little bit about in the past, the Armored Core series. I feel like just kind of dropped off the face of the earth, and that's the same kind of stuff that I talked about liking with like Front Mission 3, except rather than a turn-based tactical game. It's a third person, fast combat series that's you're constantly moving around, but you have a whole bunch of different weapons at your arsenal. You're swapping out parts and whatnot. I think that would definitely be a great series that could use a nice little revamp. I know the company behind it, is it From Software? Like they did Elden Ring. They did all those Dark Souls games and whatnot. So they've been pretty successful. And if I recall correctly, I actually just watched a little documentary thing on a series called What Happened?
What happened?
What happened?
By Matt McMuscles, but he was talking specifically about Demon Souls, but it was the director of all those Dark Souls games and whatnot, Miyazaki, got his start at the company working on Armored Core.
Oh yeah. So maybe he has a soft spot for it.
He might. I think he does like his dark fantasies.
That's the problem. I think he gets started on a game like that. He probably got worked to death. He's like, I don't want to ever see a robot again. Now it's all fantasies.
From the again, I'm going to use documentary loosely. It sounds like while he was supposed to be working on Armored Core, he would be like sneaking around the office trying to figure out what this game that would eventually become Demon Souls was all about, and kind of snuck his way into being the lead director of that game series.
Just wanted in there.
Yeah, he was intrigued, and he to his credit, he worked hard. He made it happen.
He had to.
Yeah,
he had to prove companies
it.
Don't put up with it. Yep.
And a whole lot of miracles had to come in for him on that front. But yeah, so I think Armored Core would be a really excellent series to see a comeback. I think there's a lot that can be done with it. We've seen the mech combat games like Gundam Breaker and Gundam Versus. A lot of those games have been very successful. So I would love to see one that is not tied to the Gundam IP as much, just because I feel like that you're kind of restricted a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially storytelling wise with Gundam. It's like you can either tell the story of Universal Century, or you could literally be like Build-A-Fighters, the video game, where it's all about you're playing with actual models.
Yeah. It's gone on so long too that they've gone to that well so much that it's hard to think of something new to be in the Gundam universe, because they've already done it all. Like it's been covered.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it would be, I think it would be a really good breath of air to the series to see a new something like Armored Core come out. But yeah. What's your next one, Rob? We'll do a couple each.
Sure. The other one that I was just looking at on my shelf, and I'm like, I wish they had done more of this or redone it, because it's the mechs are awesome, but the game was it was all right. And that's GKR from What a Workshop. Amazing mechs.
I love the game.
Amazing mechs, but I think the game is all about doing graffiti and stuff on buildings. And I'm like, I want a little bit more combat, like full on. And you take the same aesthetic, but put it to like an alien invasion while they're doing graffiti. That might be fun. And I just love the mechs in it though so much, and it is amazing. Once again, those minis must not have been, well, not minis. They're full on models. They must have been so expensive to produce. Like the game was expensive, but I'm sure they lost money on that game because it is huge and expensive. Like those fully colored, like amazingly detailed mechs. And,
and plus the weight just to get it shipped to the...
Yeah, I have a feeling that's why they didn't bother making any more. They're like, we're just losing money on this. It's fun. It was a fun vanity kind of project, but I think they were just like, Weta doesn't. I don't think Weta does games anymore. They used to come to Gen Con all the time. I haven't seen them there, so I'm not sure.
Because I think they let... What's the name of that company? kind of take over as far as that. It's Cryptozoic.
Is that who's doing it for them?
I don't know if it's doing it for them, but they were kind of partnered with them a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. Even on GKR, Cryptozoic is the other name on there. And they were in their booth, kind of, right?
Yeah, they were sharing the booth with Cryptozoic.
Yeah. We haven't seen those guys, though. I don't even think the District 9 game, because they did all the effects for District 9. I'm pretty sure they didn't do the game, though. They didn't have anything to do with the game, so.
No, Cryptozoic was on all over that one.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But just the design aesthetic, like Weta brings something to it that is way beyond regular design, I think. Like they're
it's unique is what it is.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It's not something you've seen with any other mech game out there, and I mean mech games all share a certain core, and Weta just took it to the next level.
Yeah, and just the designs and the colors, like they went all out for all that stuff. So yeah, fun stuff. And I would love to see that come back in some way. With 3D printing, there is a chance that we'll get this kind of stuff, maybe, where these modelers can make games and let their client base print them for them. They don't have to bring them out, but there was something to the full minis with the fully painted and everything. Like, it's hard to replicate. But that is my next one.
All right, Pat. What's did you have another one?
I kind of do. I didn't know if this would qualify because you know how much a big Battlestar Galactica fan I am. But we've kind of
the reboot.
We've kind of loosely said what I don't want to reboot. What I want is an actual Cylon War show. Because the original and the reboot were post.
Well, Caprica was supposed to be that, but it got canceled, unfortunately.
Well, no, Caprica was pre. I'm talking about right in the middle.
Well, it was supposed to lead into it, right? That was supposed to lead into the war. So.
Well, yeah.
So that it was when they were first being developed and the AIs were taken over, kind of, and.
Yeah, but you know, and then I would say like let's go to year 2 or 3.
Yeah. Of
the 100 years that they fought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know. They did do a little bit of it. They touched a little bit on it with the miniseries Blood and Chrome.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right, because that was Young Adama.
Young Adama. But I would like to see an actual full-blown war.
Yeah. Once they were supposed to do that reboot show, and it kind of disappeared. I wonder if they're still working on that.
I think they're still working on it, because I haven't heard that it was canceled.
But they always said maybe it wasn't a reboot, so maybe that's what it will be. But I think it's going to be... It's because the whole point of Battlestar Galactica is cyclical, right? The whole thing is happened and will happen again. So I think it's going to be the next cycle, which is interesting. But I wish, like you, I wish they would have... You don't get many war, like, TV shows. I remember Space Above and Beyond back in the day was kind of like that.
Yes, that was a good,
like a sci-fi war show. Like, and even that only lasted a season. So maybe that's it.
Well,
maybe that's why they don't do it.
Well, no, because it was too expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always the problem with sci-fi shows. Yep.
That's another ABC show that was good. They got axed because it was too expensive to make.
Yeah.
And they were using CGI then at that point.
Yeah, for sure. It was same with Babylon 5 almost didn't get their 5th season because of the same reason. It was just too expensive, but they fought for it and the fans fought for it, but luckily they were able to wrap it up slightly. But same idea where a lot of these shows didn't get the support back in the day, and it seems for some reason sci-fi shows still seem very expensive. Like other than like Marvel movies or Marvel TV shows, you don't get much of that kind of stuff on TV much. Yeah. You get more of the like the cyberpunk almost, like Orphan Black or things like that, you know, or smaller scale. But the giant scale like that, you don't get many of those. You don't get a Game of Thrones in sci-fi world yet, really. So.
Yeah, Expanse is maybe the closest you've got.
Yeah,
well,
and once again,
Westworld, I guess.
Expanse got cut short, and Westworld just got canceled, so it's saying a lot.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah. And even then, like, Westworld was, the first season especially, was just a Western. Like, it barely had any sci-fi in it. So,
That's our in. Like, it has to be, like, the sci-fi has to be coupled with something.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's, you know... So there's so many of these superhero movies that have been and TV series now have a huge sci-fi element to them. But, you know, if it wasn't attached to Marvel, who would necessarily watch
a
them?
lot of them fail because it isn't attached to our existing IP for sure.
Yeah.
And there's a lot like you never even hear about. Like, there's a lot of little shows, but I think they limit how much actual special effects because the budgets just aren't there. So
yeah,
you can only do so much with a home computer and Blender, So.
True, but all right. Well, the last one that I thought I'd touch on is kind of another kind of series in a genre of them. Is like the Xenosaga series. Now I know Xenoblade Chronicles and everything. Like there's a number of those games. There's a number of these Xeno games, but to my knowledge, like they aren't quite like the Xenogears and Xenosaga back in the PlayStation 1 and 2 era, which were very deep sci-fi series, but they from a gameplay standpoint, you're running around as like a traditional RPG, and then in battle you can sometimes summon mechs to fight. Basically you just hop in and pilot one, and that's you can then be a person going up against a giant mech, and have that the odds tipped against you. So it's a space that I feel like doesn't see, like hasn't had that touch in quite a while to have a series like that where it's for the most part traditional RPG, but that it has mech components to it built in. So maybe it can have a lot of that customization and stuff that we talk about in other things. Of course, the JRPG style of game, I feel like is kind of been a very formulaic one as of late. I don't want to sound like the old man, like back in my day. I don't want to be that guy. And I will fully admit I haven't played many new JRPGs. I've played a couple of new ones. But from the outside, it just seems like a lot of the same kind of style and aesthetic and everything like that, with kind of outliers of like the Persona series. When I played that, it felt like it came out of left field. It was mechanically, it was a lot of the same kind of JRPG elements, but like the presentation of it and the a lot of elements of the story and setting and whatnot just kind of really set it apart. And so it would be really neat to see that style of game with a mech component to it, and especially if it was a fantasy mech component to it. I think that's something I'm always... Yeah, I'm always looking for like an Escaflowne. And heck, there would be a great reboot. Get another...
It's been a long time for that, for sure.
But I think that'll be the cap for me. Rob, did you have any more you wanted to say?
Last one for me would be Aerotech from Battletech. It's always been like the little brother of Battletech and a little too tied to Battletech in the rules wise and like making it overcomplicated. After playing the Interceptor game, it was like, yeah, this is what Aerotech should feel like. Nice and fast, yes. and I liked how it worked. And I guess you could just use the Interceptor with the change the ships to the Battletech ones, because that would work quite well actually. But an actual Catalyst version of Aerotech, not just the tacked on kind of, hey, this is how you play it. It's pretty much mechs in space. Like it, I always felt it was way too tied to the actual Battletech game to be a fun fighting game. Like a space like fighter game, I should say.
Like a dogfighting game, yeah.
Yeah, you want it to be fast and quick because you don't want to feel like you're trudging along in space in a jet. You want it to be fast. So I always felt that needed a reboot, and for Battletech never reboots anything, so this will never happen. But hopefully maybe somebody will look at it. Even like a Alpha Strike version of Aerotech might work a little bit better, just to be a little faster. But even then, it's still not fast enough. You need the rules. Like I say, Interceptor was like ships would just go down. You just roll poorly one time and your ship's gone. Like, and that's what it should feel like, you know? It should be dangerous. have a flight versus flight and have your ships just getting blasted from lucky shots and things like that. So yeah, Aerotech for me. And yeah, like I say, I think modifying Interceptor to work that's a homebrew version, but an actual official one would be kind of nice.
It would be nice.
It's never going to happen. Pat, you got a last one?
I do now. I mean, since you started talking about Aerotech, I didn't have one before. And then I was thinking about some of the old things back when you were talking about Aerotech. I would like to see a updated version of The Last Starfighter.
Oh, yeah.
As a movie or a TV show or what?
Movie or TV show, you know. I think it would be it would make a good TV show.
I know...
an 8-episode or 6-episode TV show. I
think a TV show would work really well for it, just the way that it was.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of rushed through, the movie rushed through the story, where you could really build him getting his side of him going to the space and getting used to being in space, and then the clone learning to be human. That'd be kind of fun.
It could be, you could either do in the reboot, or you can just do the follow-up where they're training new guys.
Yeah, there's always going to be another war. I know Gary Whitta, who wrote Rogue One, he wrote a treatise for Last Starfighter, and I don't think it ever went anywhere, but he always talks about how he wanted to get that going, but nobody picked up on it. Who knows who owns the rights to those kind of old movies, too? Because I'm sure the company that made it's probably out of business, so...
That's usually the case, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of those old ones.
I mean, it's not like the Last Starfighter did horribly in the...
No, I think it was, and it's well loved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People remember it fondly, and it was fun. It was a fun movie. So yeah, I would definitely, and have the guy who played Alex come back as the new, like the trainer guy. That'd be kind of fun.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
I think he's still alive. That guy.
Oh yeah, he's not. I think he's probably my age, if anything.
No, I meant he didn't die from drug overdose or some other poor reason.
No.
A lot of actors die from.
Yeah, he owns a Roto-Rooter franchise now.
Probably. Yeah, that's funny.
Well, cool. I think that's a nice little collection of media in general. That and I think I agree with all of the picks. Like all of these things they all have a space within today's modern movie going, game playing, and TV show watching. I think it's a space now where I feel like things can get greenlit more easily because they can be produced in smaller chunks.
Yeah, like even somebody's trying to make a Gundam game, and I'm pretty sure it was even licensed, and it's like, well, that's crazy that just some guy in his basement can make a licensed Gundam game, So
yeah,
I think if you have the drive and you have a little bit of cash, you probably can do a lot more than you'd expect. Like especially back in the day when you would have needed huge amounts of people working behind you.
But well, cool. Well, I think with that we're gonna head on out and wrap up the episode.
Let's exfil out of here.
All right, and here we are at the ExFil, so we're going to be wrapping up the show here. Thanks, everybody, for checking it out, and hope you enjoyed what you heard. Feel free to pop over to our Facebook page. We have a group there where we have a very positive and welcoming community. If you had any games or shows that you wanted to see get a little bit of the reboot love, feel free to share and talk amongst the folks there and have a good fun time.
We also have Twitter for as long as it lasts, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And but yeah, so have a safe holidays, everybody. Be careful on the snow when you're driving. It's a lot different than stomping around in a giant robot when you have wheels on the ground. So be careful out there and see you all next year.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
We'll be back in 2023. Can you believe that?
The distant future.
I want my hover bike that transforms into a robot.
There you go. Well, have a good night, everybody.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This has been Mobile Armor Radio. Join our Facebook group by searching for Mobile Armor Radio. Find us on Twitter at @MArmorRadio. Find us on iTunes and visit our website, mobilearmorradio.podbean.com. Join us on the first of every month for more Mecha discussion.